Hey friends, welcome back. Now in the last video, which was quite long, we did a first deep dive into the Power BI interface. Now of course, as I said before, I do not expect that you remember everything, and that's also not necessary, because the best way to learn a tool is actually to work with it. And this is what we get started now. So you can see I opened a blank new Power BI report in here, and now let's actually connect to some data. For our use case, there is a demo file, which is called the Easy Way Power BI, and you can download it from the resource section to follow along if you want to do that. Of course, you could also directly start with your own data in case that's what you want to do. Now, to get started, what we need to do is we need to import the data. Now, we have various options because in this case, it's an Excel file. And I already told you that you could either click on Excel Workbook up here in a ribbon bar. You could go to import data from Excel here. You could click on get data from another source with the pop-up window, or get data from here and also choose Excel Workbook, or go to more, click here, wait for the pop-up window, and then choose Excel from here. So you can see you can do it in various ways. So since we already have the pop-up window open, let's just use it from here. Okay, let's click on Excel, click on Connect, and then just choose here the file, in this case, Power BI, the Easy Way. That's the file, click on it, and then click on Open. Now just wait, and you get this navigation window, the Navigator. The Navigator now shows us here two items. The first one is this one with this blue bar on top, which is called Gaming TBL. The second one is called Gaming, and you can see if you click on these things, the second one as well, you get a preview, which of course you can also increase from the size if you want to do that, but you can see clearly what the data looks like. Now, if you're wondering what's the difference between those two icons, well, the difference is that this one here is a table from Excel. So really a formatted table in Excel, which is the blue bar. That's the indication for that. This, on the other hand, is referring to the complete sheet in Excel. Now, as a best practice or as a tip, which I can give you is whenever you have a table in your sheet and you want to make sure that you only import the data from the table and not additional data from the sheet, then go with the table option. Because this would then make sure that if someone else or even you will create additional information, additional data on the sheet, it gets not imported into Power BI. Also, when you refresh the data later on. And by the way, if someone else changed the data just in the meantime and you want to see the latest data, just click this little refresh icon here. So that's just while you import the data. Of course, later on, you will also have the option to refresh the data if you simply click this refresh option then here in the ribbon bar, for instance. But for now, as I said, as a little tip and as best practice, I'm choosing the table here, even though in this case, it doesn't make any difference because the data is the same. There is only the data in the table and no additional data on the sheet. So after we just check the preview here, we have now the option to simply click on Load. So let's click on Load, and then we wait until Power BI imports the data. So there it is. It's a small data file, so that shouldn't take too long. And we can see that now the data here is on the right side. There's this Gaming TBL. And if I click on it like that, I could see here the various fields which are included, like country, order amount, price, and so on. So these are the columns of the table we have. Also, we are currently in the report view, remember that? But I could go now to the data view. So click on data here. And now you see that we can see the table in here. And that's what I meant in the first video when I just told you we had no data, so we weren't able to see anything, but just told you that here you have a kind of view like in Excel. Just a table view where you can, for instance, filter the data. You can go in here and you can apply number filters and so on. So all the filtering you're probably familiar with. So I will not dive too deep into that, but that's what you get here, right? Also, one thing to notice here, if you filter the data in this data view here, this has no impact on the report view. So as an example, if I go in here and say I only want to see product PlayStation, like that, and say I only want to see PlayStation here, click OK, you would see this here in the view. But if I would create my report in here, and just to show you this, we dive deeper into this just in a moment. But if I would say here, I want to see the product, click on product, you see that I still have all the products in here, even though I was filtering this one to PlayStation. So this is really just to, to analyze the data a little bit, but it does not change the data. It doesn't filter the data. If you want to do this, then we need to go in the Power Query editor. But that's something we're going to cover later on. So let me just remove this filter, even though it doesn't matter because it does not impact our data itself, but let's just remove it. Let's just say clear all filters and we can see the data again. Also, if I go back into, if I go to my model view before we turn back into the report view, we can see here, there's the table we have imported. So I can also drag this around, and in here I can create my relationships. For now, that's not too important because we only have one table here to get started, but later on we will see how we can connect table in this view. So, also, if you hover over the table, you get a few additional information. For instance, what's the storage mode? It is import because we import the data into Power BI, and also the data when the report was last refreshed. That's also included in here. And you can also, by the way, collapse the table. If you have too many columns in here and you want to see it here in a smaller view, you can also do that. Now, let's go back into the report view for now. So, and let me just remove this for now. Click on the three dots here and click on remove, because now this is the view we should actually get started. So, you already have seen just a few minutes ago or seconds ago, but in order to get here visualization in the view, we have various options. One of those options is if we simply click on one of the columns here. So for instance, if I click on the sales column here, that's a numerical column, I can click on it, tick the box, and then you see I get a bar chart here by default. And if I hover over it, I also get a little tooltip, which tells me here the sum of sales is in this case around 34,000 in total. I also got this option here, this little icon here. This is the on object, it's called in Power BI, which gives me here options to change the visual. So for instance, currently it's a bar chart, as you can see here, but I could also say I'd like to have, instead of a bar chart, I'd like to see a KPI. So I can click on the card here, and this will simply change the visual. So it is quite easy to change the specific visualization by simply choosing another one from these options here. So if I switch back, let me just show this to you. If I switch back here, for instance, to a cluster bar chart like that, you can see I got my bar chart now horizontally. And then there's an option which Power BI recently implemented, which is suggest a type. Now, if you turn this on, let me do it, you see that now we have a card again. And the reason for this is suggest a type means that Power BI creates the specific visualization which it thinks is best for the specific, in this case, data you have inputted here in the data options. And in this case, it's simply a card for the KPI. But I personally leave it off all the time because normally I know exactly what kind of chart I want to build. And that's why I don't want Power BI to switch this off on to a different chart automatically. So let me just go back maybe to, or let's say use a donut chart, right? Something else. We can see here our donut. And of course, by the way, we can make it bigger simply by dragging this bigger. And you can also move it around. In this case, I would recommend go over the three dots in here and just drag and drop it and place it somewhere else on the screen if you want to do that. So that's how you can easily create the visual. And you can always add data here. You can see there's a legend option. There's the values area. There are details and tooltips. So just in case I want to add something to the legend, I can either click on data like that, and then a little pop-up here appears where I can add additional data. So you can see here exactly the same columns from, in this case, the one table we have, which are also displayed here in the data view. So if I could say, or would say, I like to see here this one, but for each of, let's say, the regions, I can tick region here, click on it, and now it's added here to the legend, and I can see here the chart, or in this case, the donut chart for all the regions we have. So west, south, east, and north, and you can see that in here. And by the way, if you do not like the colors, you probably already know, you mentioned it, but let's do this together. Go to the view option here, and then choose a different color theme. This one, for instance, and you got a different color theme here. Also, the tooltip is there. You can see this, which tells us here the region, which is west, and the sum of sales in the total value, as well as the percentage figure, which is calculated automatically for us in this chart type. So If you want to remove it, simply click on the cross symbol. And let me just do this quickly, like that. And you have seen that we can click on this Add Data option here. But we could also say, we just choose here, let's say the region again, and just drag it and drop it on here. That would also work. Like that. And you can see that we got exactly the same chart. So it's up to you whether you want to drag and drop it, or if you simply click on this Add Data option and then add the specific fields you want to add here. And beside this, as I said, just choose the specific chart type you want, and then you can see this exactly changing here. So this would be one option. And here, by simply starting with a column, we've seen I can click on something like sales, and I got here another chart. That is possible. Also, what we could do, let me just click on the three dots here and go to remove. We could also go back under home, where we have the charts in here, or under insert, where we also have the charts here in the visual section. And we can simply click on one of those chart types. So for instance, I could go in here and say, I'd like to see here my bar chart. So I'm using my clustered bar chart here, and I can see I got the template here, which currently has no data. Let me just drag it up here, but we can easily fill it. We can simply click on, in this case, here the Add Data option and add some data. Or if we say this was not the right template, we can quickly change it here as well. Or we could also change the template up here. So if I would like to see, instead of this one, I'd like to see, for instance, a table. I could either click here on the table option, click on table, and you get the table, in this case template, where we need to fill it with data. Or, let me go back to the cluster bar chart here. I could also go up here, as long as I have still the visual selected. That's important, right? It just needs to be selected. And if you deselect it, just click on it again, then it's selected. And then you can go in here, and then also choose here, I'd like to see this as a table. And then you also change the template to a table, and then you just need to fill it with data. By either dragging data directly on the table, so for instance the product, I could drag it here, or I could also click on this little option here, and then just add data from here. Add data, and then I can choose, for instance here, my country, click on a country here, and then I can see my table with the country. And if I want to add additional data, I can click on Add Data and say, I'd also like to see the sales, click on Sales, and I would see here also some sales, and maybe add additional data, click here, and I also like to see the profit, like that. So you hopefully see that Power BI is really flexible regarding how to create the chart, and also if you want to change it anytime, you could easily do this by simply clicking on the visual and then change here the specific visual type. Beside this, you also would have the option to select the chart like this one and then change it from up here. So if I say I have here a donut chart, but I like to see this as a bar chart, I just select the chart, and instead of going here and change it from here, I could also just select it and change it from the insert or the home by simply clicking on a different icon. So for instance, let's just say I want to see this as a bar chart, click on the bar chart icon, and you see that now the chart type changes in here. So that's also possible. It's up to you what you want to do. And of course, Control Z or just go back, just click on the undo button here, and then you got the prior visual again. So next to that, of course, there are various formatting options. And because they are so plentiful, I cannot show you all of them, but I'm going to show you just here how to work with them. And then I highly encourage you to try them out yourself. So to do this, you could at first select the specific visual here. And for some visuals, the formatting options are already built in. Currently, the on object, so this option to change the chart type and add, well, as I said, the formatting options is not already rolled out for all the visuals, but for some of them. For instance, if I click here, you see that there's a little icon, this one here. So this one is currently not supported, at least at this point in time, for in this case, the table, but it will be in the near future. So depending on when you watch the video, maybe the option is already there for the table as well. But for now, it's already there, for instance, for the donut chart. So just to format it, you can click here, add or remove elements like this one. And then you can, for instance, say, I want to get rid of the title. Untick the title option, the title is gone. Or untick the legend. Untick the legend, and legend is gone. or untick the detail labels. So these things can be directly formatted from here. And as I said, with time, more and more options will be directly available in here. But if the specific option to format a chart is not already here by clicking on this icon, or this icon is not visible, for instance, because it's currently not implemented yet for the table, just click on More Option. And if you click on More Options here, let me tick it, watch what happens on the sidebar here. Currently, we only have the data view here, right? But if you click on More Options, then automatically this new icon appears here on the side, the formatting option. And now you have all the formatting options in here for the visual. So besides title, legend, detail labels, and so on, you can now also customize this here. For instance, if I untick the title is gone here as well. And I also have a few additional options here, like clicking on the title. And here, for instance, I could specify what kind of text I want in this title. So this one here. So I could write any kind of text here. For instance, donut for sales. Okay, just any random text. You can see it here. Now this has changed. And I can also change here the font size. I can make it bold if I want to do that. You can see that changes. I can center it if I want to do that, and so on. So all these customization options which are here, which some of them you're probably familiar from PowerPoint or from Excel, they are also available in here. I can also do conditional formatting here, so conditional title based on a measure, but that's something we're going to cover later on. That's not something we're going to cover right now. But hopefully you have seen that it's easy to format things here simply by clicking something, changing the text color, make it green, and so on, and all this is reflected here. And as I said, this is currently in here, so in the side navigation bar here, the formatting option, but in the future, more and more of those options will be directly available in this little icon when you click here, right? Simply, again, depends on when you watch the video. And you also have seen that for some visuals, as I said, for this one, for instance, currently there is no formatting option directly appended here, but you can also see that there are all the options from the formatting option. We can format the table. And by the way, if you can't see this, let me just right click here and let's just close it for now. You see it's not visible. In order to open it, simply go under the view option here and then just check it here. So click on format here and then it's available in here, right? So then you can just select the visual and then just change whatever you want to change in here. So for instance, for the table here, I could go to size and style, and then I can change here horizontal, vertical, height and width, and so on. Or just say, let's go back in here. Let's go to the style presets here and then change the table style. For instance, I could say I want to have none, and you see that now the table has changed regarding the style. I can also make the values bigger. I can go in here and increase the font size. Simply now you can see, oh, here, hopefully that the values are bigger. It's easier to see. And I can play around with the color and so on with the background. It's really up to me how I want to style my table. There are lots of options in here. And just in case, as a little tip, if you want to see all of them, because currently a lot of them are currently right, you need to click on it and then see all the options you have to style it. Just click on the three dots up here, Format Pane Settings, and there's an option to expand all categories. And if you click this option, tick it, then you see that now all the windows here have expanded and you can see all the formatting options you have. And you can see it's really quite a lot, right? So the style presence, the title options, of course you need to tick the title as on, and then you can write any text. For instance, this is my first Power BI table, right? Like that. And you can see that now this header appears. And as soon as you activate, turn it on, the title here, then of course you can customize it further. All these options are now available for you. The same is true for the subtitle, by the way. Currently it's grayed out, as you can see, but you just need to turn it on in here, and now then you can style it the way you want. And as you can see, and hopefully also when you follow along, if you scroll down, you can see a lot, and I really mean a lot of options. And a lot of them are actually quite clear. I mean, based on the description, for instance, you want to add a border and where should be the border position. But as I said, I highly encourage you, just try all the things out which might be interesting to you, right? Because every one of us has different requirements, of course, for his or her styling and visualization, but there are really a lot of options, and I'm certain that you find what you're looking for if you just try out the different things and just use it. So that's basically it for the styling here for the table. Next to the table, which I also like to show you, let me just make this a bit smaller in here, is any kind of, let's say, regional data or geographic data. Of course, it's often interesting to plot things on a map, right? And this, of course, is also possible in Power BI. So let me just go maybe back under the insert or the home and just choose maybe a specific type. And here, and there I can go. And then I could choose one of my maps here. In the future, the Azure map, this one will be the default one. Currently, there are also these other maps, but in the future, Power BI will automatically rely on the Azure map. Just want to mention this because it depends really on the version you're going to use. But you can always change the same way as you changed, or as we changed the visuals for the donut chart, for instance. So from bar to donut, we can also do that, of course, for all the cards we have. In this case, the maps. So let me just go back to my, it says click on the little cylinder, go to data, and then just choose here the country. So let me just click here and somewhere on the empty space because I do not want to add the data in here. So by the way, if you select a visual, like this one here for the table, for instance, as long as the visual is still selected, then of course, if you click on anything, like for instance, product, you would see that this is added to the specific visual, in this case to the table. If you want to start a complete new visual, click somewhere on the empty space, just to make sure that you have not anything selected. And then you can, of course, click on, for instance, one of those data options here, so one of the columns. And if I click on country here, I would see that now a country, in this case a map, is automatically created for me. Let me make this bigger. Let me drag it, maybe place it somewhere, as you can see. And now I have here also the option to either change the visual here, to add additional fields in here, or to go to the formatting option, click on this one here, and then I can already here change a few things. For instance, I can add the category labels. If I do that, now you would see all the country names. And I can also change this to a heat layer. Then it would get this heat map option here, if this is something you want to do. And also if the option is not available here. So I said, again, for you, there might be more options already. In this case, for me, there are only these three, or in this case, these four. One of them is grayed out. But of course, I could click on more options. And then again, the side navigation opens. And here I have all the options to style my map. If I scroll down, and again, you can see that there are a lot of options. Like also the map settings here, where I can change the style from road, for instance, to light. And you would see that the map changes. And there are also options like, for instance, grayscale and other ones. It depends on which one you prefer, but these are the options we have in here. So that's it. Let me click on this again. And you see that that's what I meant when I said the Azure map. This one will be in the future the default, as far as I know right now. But currently, still this map option was chosen. But we can switch it to the Azure map. Let me click on Azure map here. And to display Azure map, I need to sign in. Okay, in this case, I need to first sign into Power BI, and then I could display the Azure map. So I just would go to sign in. I can click here, sign in, and then I can enter my email address. In this case, again, the registration is for free. But as I said, you need to have a business account or school or institutional account, something like that, in order to sign in. Currently, I'm not signed in. Maybe that's also a reason why the Azure map was not chosen by default. Okay, so let's go back to the original map and just visualize it like that for now. Beside the dots, I might be interested in what are the sales figures in this case, because we have sales data for the different kinds of countries. So I can easily do this by selecting the map. And then let me just go to the options in here. And then I could add, for instance, for the bubble size, click on add data here for the bubble size. I can click on the sales here, and then I would see the bubbles now represent the sales amount which has been created in each of the countries. And I can see that US and India, for instance, here are markets which we most sell our products. So this is also an option you can play around with, adding simply the fields here. Also maybe something in legend, on the tooltips, and so on. So that's it actually for part 1 on creating visualizations in Power BI and connecting with data. So I will cut the video here because it's quite long already, but in the next video we will continue building our first report. So hopefully you're excited as I am, and I can't wait to see you in the next part. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you there.